So when looking at rate of change, you're looking at the rate in which the function changes with respect to how the input values change, or the x values. So here are a few questions that have you look at the average rate of change per year and the number of songs that was on your favorite iTunes playlist between the 2 given years. Okay, so for part A, we'll start with that one. It's wanting you to look between 2007 to 2010. In 2007, you had 40 songs. 3 years later, in 2010, you've increased to 120 songs. So if you recall the rate of change sort of general format, so it's a rate of change from A to B was the function value evaluated at B minus the function value evaluated at A over B minus A. So it's function value difference over input difference. And if we go from 2007 to 2010, I'm going to do 120 songs, subtract 40, and then 2010, subtract 2007, to reflect the average rate of change from 2007 to 2010 in that order. The top shows the difference of 80, so that was an 80 song increase over the span of 3 years, and that's approximately 26.7 songs per year as your average rate of change. The number of songs went up, your average rate of change is positive, and it's almost 27. Okay? For part B, we look between 2010 and 2014. So that'll use two different numbers. So we'll do 2010, it was 120 songs, but in 2014, you're back down to 40. So your difference, your change decreased, so your average rate of change is going to be negative. So we'll go 40 to 120. Okay. And then that looked from 2014 to 2010. So you're looking for the average rate of change from 2010 to 2014. There is a decrease of 80 songs in the span of 4 years. So there's a decrease of 20 songs per year when you go to find the average rate of change. The number of songs decreased, your average rate of change should be negative to indicate that. And so we have that it was negative 20 songs. Alright, so for part C, we're looking from 2007 to 2014. Now, lots of things can happen in that 7-year span, but we are focused on what happened in 2007 and what happened in 2014. So the average rate of change there was no change in the number of songs on your list. So when you do the song difference up top in 2014 to 2007, you get a change of 0 songs over the 7-year span. So 0 is your average rate of change. It just indicated in that 2007 to 2014, regardless of how many were added or deleted from year to year, on average, there was no change at all. So you just have a 0 rate of change. Okay? Then there are some questions that have you interpret what the rate of change is, the average rate of change. And if you remember from before, it's always from A to B. So, part A is average rate of change from x equals 0 to x equals 2. Part 2 is average rate of change from x equals 2 to x equals 4. And part 3 here is average rate of change from x equals 0 to x equals 4. So that's the interpret part. The other part for this is to actually compute the average rates of change, and you have a function that's been given to you. So while you already have the input differences on the bottom, you'll have to actually go through and calculate the numerator part. So for part I, f of 2 is 16 minus 2 squared. So that's 16 minus 4 equals 12. F of 0, 16 minus 0 squared, so that's 16. So when you do the average rate of change, you get 12 minus 16 over 2 minus 0. which is negative 4 over 2. So that's negative 2 average rate of change for part 1. For part 2, you do the same thing. Evaluate F at 4. Evaluate F at 2, which we just did and got 12. F at 4 will do 16 minus 4 squared. 16 minus 16 is 0. So when we calculate the average rate of change from 2 to 4, we get 0 minus 12 over 4 minus 2. So negative 12 over 2, which is negative 6 for our average rate of change for part 2. And then part 3, we'll do average rate of change from 0 to 4. So we already have the function value evaluated at 4. We found that to be 0. The function value evaluated was 16, so 0 minus 16 over 4 minus 0. You get negative 16 over 4, so that's negative 4 for your average rate of change. So again, it's from being able to interpret the fact that it's from A to B, and then being able to plug in the function values and calculate that average rate of change.